All right, so in this video, I'm gonna tell you how to do a little bit of stain blocking on your furniture. So, in reference to wood types, we have a cherry wood table here, which this is our focal point, right? This is our #1 draft, right? Cherry, mahogany are both red woods, and they will typically bleed red. So if you paint a piece white without stain blocking, you're gonna get a pink colored piece. It's gonna look gross. So we wanna make sure we get some stain blocking on that. Right here behind me, I also have a panel of pine. Pine typically will bleed yellow. So I always say, if you're picking up a piece of furniture and it's a red wood or a yellow wood, you're always gonna wanna probably do a stain blocking primer. Now, if you're getting a paint that's an all-in-one, primer, paint, sealer, you still gotta do this. In 16 years of refinishing furniture professionally, I have found that the all-in-ones are wonderful, but it's mainly for marketing and not for user friendliness. So we wanna make sure that we go through the steps the right way, because if you gotta backtrack, that's no fun. So, in this piece here, I have a couple of issues, right? And I got some problem solvers. My first thing is I've got to stain block my cherry. And then the other thing I also have a little bit of a problem with is the top of my piece is pretty slicky. Now I'm not worried about my shellac adhering to this. It's going to do a very good job of that. I first got to stop the bleed through on my table. And then in another video, I am going to do a little bit of a bonding primer. That way I can show you how to apply a bonding primer, and we're going to do it to the top only, because that's really the only place that I'm going to have a problem with adhesion of paint to this. All right, so your two options that you got. This is a clear shellac spray. I recommend this. Again though, we're doing this as cheap as possible. Use what you got. You can buy this. This is in a white formula. And so if you're going to be doing a very light color, you might want to go ahead and go with the white versus a clear. For my purposes, I'm going to spray this because I like to work fast, I like to work quick. Time is money. And so I'm going to spray this here. But if you are applying with a brush, I always recommend the chippy brushes because, well, you can just toss them out and throw them away instead of having to clean them. Shellac will ruin your brush, so that's something to think about. All right. So when it comes to spraying a piece like this stuff likes to run. Remember that you can sand this back a little bit as you get going. We're gonna shake up our can real good. And we're gonna come in and we're gonna do light passes in and out. And you'll see it on there because you'll see it kind of shine up. Now I've already cleaned my piece and I used the scrubbing pad. And so I can see where it's dull, where I've taken that varnish down. I also want you to notice that in furniture refinishing, this is actually, sometimes people will just spray this on an old piece to freshen it up. If you look at it, you might say, you know, Corey, that piece looks brand new. That's because this is actually considered a type of a varnish or a clear coat that you can put on furniture. So you have multiple uses for this stuff. However, shellac's not the most durable, but it leaves a nice, pretty finish. If you look right here, I kind of hit it a little too hard. It's bubbling up and dissolving. It will do that. It looks nice and clean and smooth. We're going to come through to this. And these cherry woods are so beautiful. We have a staining class as well, and we teach you how to take pieces like this and refinish them to a beautiful wood. All right, we got my base done first. Now the reason why I'm doing the base first is anytime that you're spraying, there's a thing called overspray. That's your biggest problem when it comes to spraying furniture. So I'm doing the base because if you look, it's all underneath this tabletop. So now as I do my tabletop, none of that overspray is going to come back down on top. If I do it in the reverse order, I can get spray floating back on top of my table, and it can give me, you know, kind of a not very smooth finish. And then I'll have to sand it. I don't want to have to sand this. All right, so we'll start here on the edges. I'm kind of wrapping around, and then I'm going to come in and go in with the grains of the wood, running right through there. You might have to do multiple passes Cherry is probably the worst wood when it comes to bleed through. And this shellac dries super fast. I can actually come in here and paint with this within an hour of completing this job. All right. So we're done with that process. I'll turn my table here. Now just looking at it, we kind of have a brand new cherry top table and we haven't done anything to it. You could take this piece, you could have touched up the edges here with a little bit of cherry stain, polish this baby up, and you could sell it just like this. That's the quickest flip. But since this is a painting 101 course, we're going to teach you how to take this and paint it and flip it. All right, let's get on over to